So, thank you for tuning into Culture Fix. I am Andrew, and I'm delighted to be joined by Devin, who is a really talented Canadian Croatian star. You may remember Devin from his incredible Dora performance earlier this year with Over Me. Devin now returns with his follow-up single, I Could Never. It is a big, powerful, emotive number, and I'm so excited to dig into the story behind that. So, thanks for joining me, Devin. How are you?
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm perfect. I'm super excited to have this opportunity to talk to you and about my song because, I mean, Croatia, with music is always like, it feels like Dora is always, going up. And then as soon as Dora finishes, everything goes like super quiet. Pardon me. I forgot to turn off my phone. So, yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, the quality at Dora year on year and year just keeps getting better and better. How did it feel to kind of be part of that lineup for this year?
Incredible. It's such an incredible position actually to be able to participate at Dora in a year that genuinely feels not only competitive, but competitive in a way that does not feel toxic in the musical sense. Growing up watching Dora in the past years, it always felt like it was something only reserved for bigger Croatian artists, and it almost felt like the gates were always closed. When I started doing music, it still felt very, very closed, but every now and then, you'd get a new name in and people would discover you. These last few years, it's been production wise, it's been so open to everyone. And, it really rewarded you for what you brought to the table. And I feel like this year was incredible because not only were we all trying our best, you could genuinely see that the competition revolved exclusively around the music and it wasn't nothing personal in between the artists. So the atmosphere was wonderful, it was healthy, and it really made me forget that music can sometimes be toxic because I was just enjoying so much about everything that was going on.
Yeah, I think it does as much as it's a competition, and I know Eurovision as well as a competition. There is more to it than that, and it is just that you can kind of take away the competitive element and just enjoy it as a celebration of, cultural differences around the world and different musics and different genres. So I think yeah, it definitely feels like a celebration more than a contest now, which is quite nice.
Absolutely. I think I mean, that's what Eurovision in its core is all about. It started off as a music festival. Unfortunately, I believe in the last, well, I mean, in a good while now, it's become almost like a launch party for new artists, which I respect and I agree completely because we're all trying to get to that big stage and kick off our careers. But it truly does become more enjoyable when you take it for what it is and you don't really overthink the whole process. I think a lot of people get lost in or should I say, lost in the sauce, of trying to almost grab Eurovision and Dora for the entirety of it instead of just enjoying the one performance and then leaving the rest of the problems for later. But I think Dora this year was truly like healthy in its approach. People were truly enjoying each other's songs. We were supportive. We were sharing tips and tricks about going on stage because we're all in the same problems because I don't know, there were some artists that were struggling with their in-ears. Some others felt like the stage was a bit too cramped. And we were all just talking to each other like, oh, don't worry about it. You can try this, you can try that. It really felt like music united us for the first time in a good while.
And a great way to put Croatian music on the map as well internationally, because now the national finals have become such a kind of global event. It's not just a Croatian event or a Swedish event or a Belgian event. It's now an international event. So it's really nice to see that celebration of Croatian artists and the reason that we're talking today. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's amazing. I mean, one thing that's become very clear in the last few years is the fact that people have started to appreciate not only the almost folkloric elements of one's country, but you do get to showcase, for example, Croatia with Rim Tim Tagidim presented both its rock and like more pop metal qualities, but then with the costuming, you could see a lot of our national elements. And I think now the international audience is starting to appreciate artists that come with exclusively rock songs or pop songs. So it's not just a competition where you get to show off your nation. It's also a beautiful competition where you get to show the world that music is truly international. Like what you might recognize in the UK or in the United States or in China, maybe, or in Africa, can be found in other cultures. Like music truly is the one thing that belongs to every nation with no limitations.
So a little bit of time has now passed since Dora. How do you reflect on that experience? And I hate this question, but is there anything that you would change or adapt about your performance now from the kind of benefit of hindsight?
For the first time in my life, I think I can proudly say that there's absolutely nothing that I would touch in my performance. And this is coming from a perfectionist that has been, I would almost say, a relaxed guy in training. So I've truly, since the start of my career or my creative process, I had to train myself to stop caring as much as I do because it ruins your experience in every way. And Dora was at the start, I was panicking. I was really like, when we first started the assembling the team, I knew I had great people with me, but until you see in flesh and blood what you're making, it feels almost too abstract to really give it a decent rating. And once we stepped on stage and I saw our semifinal performance, I told my team, like, this is it, keep it. Let's not, like, we have made the best show that we can. The only thing that we now have to do for the finals is make it, like, just perform it better, not make it better. Just give the audience what we gave each other in the studio when we were practicing it. And I'm very, very proud of my entire team. Maybe least proud of myself, but in general, just so thankful that we got to make the show the way that it was, because in many ways, it wasn't what I initially envisioned, but artistically, you slowly start to realize that your vision is never the correct one. It's the one that comes out in its final form that's the correct vision. Because if it wasn't supposed to be like that, it would not have been like that. So no, I wouldn't change anything. As a matter of fact, I wish I could just do it again. Like, let's do it a few more times because it was so fun to perform that, two times on live TV feels like not enough.
Well, I think you should be so proud of it because actually, after having not watched it in a couple months to then go back and watch it ahead of this interview, again, I was really struck by that impact. And it's, it's the combination of that sort of theatricality and cinematic atmosphere that you managed to craft. I think it's so impressive to watch, but must be a real challenge to craft something that feels so grand and powerful.
Yes, that was the biggest challenge in terms of just presenting the piece to the audience. Um, I remember posting a TikTok about it, and I remember Zevin liking it because I think we were kind of in the same boat. I have a song that to promote it, to really sell the story, I feel like I would need a whole movie production behind me. Like, I can't just go out and lip sync the song on the street because it's not the vibe. That's not the theme of it. And I knew that when we come on that stage, what we're doing is not just a song, we're doing almost like a small play because we want the audience to really feel a story. We want to give them that we're going to the cinema moment. We're going to see something that we can't see on the side of the street. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I was studying Stanislavski and his method acting techniques because I'm trying to brush up on my theory before I start working on some new projects. And I realized that one of the core aspects of acting is this truly denying the fact that what you're doing is fictional. And it's interesting how I had that in myself when I was performing, because no matter how many lights, no matter the audience, no matter the dancers, I was just in the moment trying to give the audience what Over Me as a song had to be.
And would you consider yourself a sort of method actor? And do you kind of take that onto your musical performances as well? Because I know there's obviously a lot of kind of different opinions on method actors, and you hear all the horror stories from film sets. But is that something that you can relate to as a kind of performer?
So when I was less experienced, when I was younger, I used to think, method acting was part of my vocabulary. Method acting was the shit. Like, you need to go full method. And it's always, I'm always thinking about Jared Leto when he did the Joker and he kept sending bullets and dead rats to his co-stars. But when I actually got to do plays and musicals, I thought to myself, wow, it must be hell to work with a method actor. Like, I would not want to be that person. Like, I respect the craft. I really do. At the end of the day, it is my craft. But I think the beauty about this job is the fact that you get to do it with other people and you really want to not ruin someone's experience because they feel like they can't talk to you because you're full method. It really does depend on the character that you're doing, but I think method acting is in its core what acting is not, because there's one there's one school of thought where they think you should completely be in the character, and then there's one school of thought that keeps saying act the beauty of acting is the fact that it's not real. So all you need to do is act. You don't have to be the character to be the character, so to speak. So I would say that I'm not a method actor, but I do respect people who try their hardest to really get to the core of their character without ruining the experience for other people.
Yeah, that is the kind of the additional element of that. You think of the method actor, you think of their performance, but actually it's that knock-on effect of every other person on that set or that stage
Yeah.
that has to then bounce off that
Yeah.
energy, I suppose. I need to ask though, your vocals are very powerful. How do you take care of them? Because I know you're obviously performing on stage every night, sometimes twice a day. So how do you then kind of maintain the actual the quality of your voice?
It's well, that's a I would say a work in progress still. I think there is this very it's as much as vocal health and vocal folds and technique, as much as that entire field has been very studied and discovered. I think the biggest misconception about vocal health is people tend to think of it as a one size fits all approach, when in reality, we're all different. We all have different muscles. And, my prowess might not be something that goes to you, and your skills might not be something that works for me. So, it really does come to trial and error at the end of the day. And I had the chance to speak with Igor Drvenkar, which is the singer of Parni Valjak, a Croatian band, and who's also doing musical theater in Les Mis with me. And we actually had the chance to speak about vocal health. And it really does boil down to knowing yourself to the fullest. You know your limits, you know when you can almost give more, when you have to give less. And my biggest discovery about myself for vocal health was the fact that I have this tendency of not pushing to reach, but pushing because I want to be better. And I always find myself practicing, which is in the long term damaging, because you really need to evaluate, okay, today is a working day. I need to give my vocal folds a rest. I need to give them time to breathe, because if I'm in full sprint 3 hours before the show and I go on stage, I'm giving the audience an exhausted approach. I'm already tired. I need to sleep. I need to stop. And with Dora, especially, there was a moment where the song clicked, where I was like, oh, okay, so this is the technique that I need to have for this song. Because if I use anything else, the next performance is going to be it's going to be a little bit worse. But stacking up, you come to the final and you're just exhausted. So it really does boil down to figuring out the best position for each song and for each performance.
Well, on the subject of powerful vocals, we need to talk about I Could Never, because it's really it feels like quite a kind of a natural follow on from Over Me, but also showcasing a different kind of emotional side from you. Am I right in thinking this is your 27th song in total? It told me on Spotify when I went into the stats. Spotify's got this new stat thing, and Song DNA says it's your 27th released song on Spotify, which that's pretty impressive.
I don't think it's the 27th. I really don't. I really pray it's not, because I mean, if after 27 songs I'm not headlining Wembley, then I don't know what I'm doing. No, no, I'm joking. I don't think it's the 27th. Spotify is also a bit confusing with how it works, but I have released a lot of songs and since the start, because not coming from a musical background, or should I say not coming from a musical community, music for me has been very a fun experience, almost like a trial and error thing. There was never this pressure about making the perfect piece every time. At the start, now in retrospect, I think I started releasing way too early, and that's fine. But because at the end of the day, I think of us all like artists. We're just kids playing. This just evolves into another set of, play places and play things that you want to experience, and you try to experiment. But I could never really just feels like a more mature and almost concise approach to what I'm doing. I've had I have been blessed with wonderful opportunities to collaborate with music and to try out new sounds, but I've always been worried about whether or not my sound is defined by me or by the person I'm working with. And Over Me and I Could Never have been two songs that are completely my own in terms of my musical intuition, and I want to keep it that way. Like I'm always, it's almost like a torturous thing because you're never satisfied with what you have because you keep wondering, did I make it? And that's why I'm so in awe with, these super famous artists who have songs that have been co-written by a million people. And then I'm thinking like, yeah, I would love to have Baby by Justin Bieber in my roster. But then I think to myself, but did I write it? Is it my song? Is this what made me who I am? So I think I Could Never is truly like the next step into many directions that I'm going to go with. In many ways, I think of myself as an actor. I'm just going to give you different versions of Devin. And some people are going to resonate with that version more. Some people are going to resonate with that version more. But the beauty of music is the fact that no one forces you to enjoy it. Like you can really just pick and choose of me what you want. And I want people to enjoy what they love and not what I think is the next big thing.
Well, I thought it was really interesting when reading the press release that had mentioned that you had written the song in your car, which it sounds like an odd concept, but actually it does totally make sense when you think of the kind of the confined sort of piece of or the sort of the space and that kind of privacy of a car. How did that come about?
I mean, it's truly ridiculous, but when you realize it, it does boil down to the fact that you can't really consider yourself capable of doing your craft unless you're able to boil down what you need to create to like the bare minimum. And coming from someone who, as I said, doesn't come from like a musical background, it was always a bit like it almost felt like an intruder in my craft, thinking, okay, like, can I do music if I only have my phone or like my notebook and my pen and a melody in my head? Like, is that's what the one thing that you need to have um to really create? Because today, and I think that's normal in every art form. People tend to over equip themselves before they're really capable of using their equipment. Like I have this tendency to where I look at like a new microphone and I think to myself, wow, I really want that. And then I think to myself, I'm not going to be using that for what it's intended to. I really need to step back. So writing the song in my car was genuinely just me being what I think a musician is. And that's just, a human being wanting to express emotions beyond just saying them, and that is singing them out. And to be frank, I was waiting for my girlfriend. She was going to get her nails done, and it took way longer than she had said. So what turned into a 1 hour, 1 hour relaxation period turned into almost a 2.5 hour writing session with myself because I said to myself, I mean, if I have free time, I'm not gonna doom scroll on TikTok. Let's write. And it really did come out as a beautiful love ballad where I realized that me being in that car, knowing that I'm waiting for her, is exactly where I want to be in my life. Like I would not trade that moment because I know that when she comes back, the happiness of seeing her is going to be incredible. And just like the joy of being able to experience those small moments in life.
Well, I think if I Could Never comes from that, setting, your girlfriend is going to have the most perfect nails because you could get a whole album out of this situation.
I
Like,
told
let's get the
her.
nails done this week.
Yeah, I told her, like, listen, the beauty of being in love with a fellow artist is the fact that we always kind of find inspiration in the small things in life. So I told her, listen, never overthink what you're doing, because even if you do something that I might not agree with, at least I'm going to find inspiration to write a song about it. Right. And it was ridiculous because I don't know, she forgets to buy the milk, and I'm over here with a whole album about it. Like, babe, I'm sorry, this is what's going to make my career tomorrow.
I love that. Um, the music video is also quite a powerful visual to accompany that with the black and white sort of aesthetic. How did you kind of decide upon how that was going to look? Because obviously, you want the kind of the right visuals to pair with the message of the song. So how did you come up with that?
Oh, we had no budget. No,
It
no.
all went on nails.
No, but that is me really trying to tell you the reality of, and at the end of the day, I think all of my fellow artists can agree, budget is usually the thing that defines everything, but it's really about how you use what you have. I wanted I Could Never to really be a stripped back version of what I am artistically. So even if we didn't have a budget, I would not have put, another huge video, another big production. I wanted this song. The song is actually written as a birthday gift for my dearly beloved, which was supposed to be released on her birthday, but then we couldn't. So at least I said, okay, give me more time. I have a beautiful video in mind, and we're gonna make everything perfect. And it really wanted I really wanted the video to be just, me singing out the words that I truly feel. And I didn't want to have to hide behind a production of things because this job in this art form is very exposing. You're always putting yourself up for critique, and I'm always up for, creative feedback. But I really wanted this song to just be what I am, without any dancing, without any lights, without fire, without horses, without, everything that goes into a big production. So I really wanted it to be black and white because I wanted to be as cinematic as I can, but at the same time to be as stripped back in everything that I do. And I mean, it was fun because it was shot in less than an hour. We had a lot of fun, but also because I didn't have to overthink every minute detail. It was genuinely me singing out the song and trying to capture the rawest performance, the rawest emotion, and just like as beautiful of a shot as we can get.
Well, to me, Over Me and I Could Never would fit very well together on an album. Is this something that is kind of going through your mind just now, or is that maybe a wee bit further ahead? Or what's the kind of the thought there?
The album is coming. That's
Nice.
something that I finally can say with my chest because I always thought that the album wasn't gonna come unless I have it almost sounds stupid to say, but unless I'm successful enough to make an album, I won't make it. But then I always thought that's so ridiculous because no one's really waiting for you. You have to give yourself the chance. You have to give yourself the opportunity. Um, the album is coming, if God wills it, in October.
Well,
Yes, because I'm gonna take the summer really to create. But at the same time, I feel like I'm an unstoppable force now with just how much I want to release. And I will be releasing a smaller project mid-May that's going to be completely different from what you've heard up until now because it's going to be in Italian. I
wow.
had a few opportunities to write songs in Italian, and I realized these are three great songs. So let's like make an EP almost that's going to be more centered around the summer. But because I like to chameleon myself around genres, I am going back to a heavier, darker sound for fall. So I'm gonna spend the summer in the studio working, and then hopefully October is gonna be the big restart of Devin as you saw him at Dora.
Nice. So we have the Italian summer to look forward to, and then the kind of the darker
Yeah,
autumnal, more
yeah,
pensive month.
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm telling you, it's a whole movie saga in my head. Just like keep going. Yeah.
The thing is, Italian music, I speak no Italian, but I still listen to a lot of Italian music, and there's just something about the language and the way it absorbs you and the way that can convey a story and just so many kind of minute gestures and kind of tones and things. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear that.
Yeah, Italian music is genuinely just very rooted in storytelling, and that's one thing that I really appreciated because I keep listening to older and newer Italian songs, and the one thing that never escapes them is the need to tell, or should I say, the need to picture the emotion. Like everyone can say, "I love you, you love me, let's be a happy family," but the way the Italians say it, it's just very picturesque. It just really does boil down to what emotions are. And there is this big discourse in songwriting where people are like, do you have to make it super poetic or do you have to make it literal? And I think the Italians, having, a country with over 83 million people, stopped caring. Like they just create because they love what they do. And them as a nation, they're very open to music. So even if it's not like top tier lyricism or top tier production, they still love it if it makes them feel something, which I truly appreciate. So I'm excited to release them and get some feedback on that.
Well, I would be really intrigued to know your thoughts on engaging with the noise and the comments. And obviously, Dora is something that attracts a lot of opinions. How do you kind of deal with that? Are you someone that kind of reads the comments on videos, or do you just kind of shut off and kind of put out your kind of artistic vision and then kind of let the world engage with it in however they see fit, or do you kind of read through?
That's a really difficult question to answer because it almost feels like whatever I tell you is going to be a lie. I think both approaches are realistic. There are right now I'm reading the feedback on I Could Never because I feel like I Could Never has been released in my ecosystem, so it almost feels like I'm releasing it to my fan. Well, I am. I'm releasing it to my fans. Like the the reception is more local. Like my circles are getting to the song and they're spreading it out to people who have never heard of me, and I'm getting feedback from them. But Over Me was really thrown out into the sea that I call Eurovision, which is very, very big. And there are people who love to be nice. There are people who love to be mean. There are people who love to critique. There are people who love to give feedback. With a song like Over Me, because it's a competition, unfortunately, I really detached myself from what I thought people thought that the song was. And I genuinely just went with my flow because I didn't want to put myself in a position where my opinion of myself, where my image was being almost stripped and broken because some person doesn't like my song. Because it does get, I mean, it's ridiculous that we forget that just because someone maybe doesn't like your song or someone loves it doesn't mean that it's necessarily good or bad, because you and I hear a million songs a day, and sometimes we don't even have an opinion on it. That doesn't necessarily mean that the song is perfect or the song is terrible. So it took me a while to, at the start, especially the first 3 days after the songs were released, it took me a while to almost regroup with myself and remind myself why I do what I do and why I love storytelling and why I love creating music. So in general, I would say I'm a very step back. If you love it, I'm glad. If you hate it, I'm glad, because at least, it gives you an emotion. And I would say that my biggest energy goes to the people who truly make an effort to reach out to me and give me feedback, or to give me opinions. So I'm always open to people. If you love the song, tell me, text me, send me a message, whatever. And I truly always thrive to create the next best work that I can. So as I said, whatever I tell you, it's almost gonna feel like lying. So I would truly say 50-50. Depends on the situation.
Well, you mentioned putting the song out Over Me into the Eurovision world. You'll be dipping your toe back into that world with the Zagreb pre-party. How does it feel to be kind of going back into the kind of world of Dora and kind of reuniting with a lot of your Croatian music colleagues?
It's incredible. It's incredible. As I said, music is beautiful because it connects us on so many ways. And one thing that I'm really glad is the fact that there's so many new artists coming out and developing their sound. Croatia, being a small country, really does make you feel like you're stuck in a loop of the same people trying to make some things work. And because we have some relatively big regional, Balkan artists here, it always felt like we were living in their shadow. But now, in the last 5 years, I like to call it the post-COVID music era. It really feels like so many new people are developing their sound, and I'm so happy that I'll get to see them on this stage, because we are the next generation. Like, we are the I would say the greats that our the next generations are going to talk about, because if you love it, you're just gonna keep doing it forever. So I can't wait to revisit the feeling of what Dora was, but in a less competitive, more truly like just relaxed and fun approach. And I can't wait to see them. I can't wait to perform Over Me again live, now that I feel like there's no pressure when I'm performing it. Like, I genuinely just feel like I'm going to be able to sing it to an audience that loves it. That's the beautiful thing about music, is when you truly connect with your audience.
Will you get the chance to sneak in I Could Never as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I Could Never is definitely on the roster. And I'm going to announce it here, but I don't know if that's going to happen, because time is of the essence and we have no time. But I might be able to preview one of the songs that are coming on the album in September. That's going to be, sorry, in October. That's going to be heavier, even heavier than Over Me. Just like in general, what I want to do for the fall. So if God wills it, we're going to have a sneak peek of what's coming.
Right, well, the cameras better be out because I will not be there, but I would like to see it. I need to ask you about one of my favorite theatre roles that you played recently, and that is the MC in Cabaret. And what a part to play! How did you approach that? What was the experience like? Just tell me all, because I'm obsessed with Cabaret, and I think that is one of the greatest stage roles of all time.
You and me both. I'm gonna tell you right now, you and me both are obsessed with the musical and the play aspects, the musical aspects, and the role itself. Um, so cabaret being so detailed and so layered is it's a difficult production to put on, especially when you're translating it. And we've had I used to say, and now I'm more open to it, but at the start when I started doing musicals in Croatia, I hated the fact that they were translated in Croatian because I studied musical theater. I've done it in the UK, and then I hated the fact that when I'm here, I have to do it in my language when I've spent so many years learning the craft in its original form. But I fell in love with it after some time. MC is such an excruciating role in many ways because I think all the actors that have ever done MC, we all live in the shadow of Alan Cumming and the first MC Joel Grey. We always, at the start of our project, we always try and replicate what made them great. And I think we're all guilty of that crime because imitation is the highest form of flattery, but also it's the best way to learn what makes you unique. Um, Preparing it just felt weird because you get to not only prepare a character that you've never done before, but you have to prepare it in a language that it has never been done before, or should I say, not in recent years. And what I found myself doing was truly, I stopped overthinking it. I realized that MC is the truest form of like a mask that you put on, and it really does make you behave the way you want to behave. So in many ways, I didn't prepare the MC. The MC prepared me to be what I wish I could be in real life. The way I mock the audience, the way I make fun of the dancers, the way I dance with the ensemble, the way I perform the songs. It truly is what I think the actor that is doing the MC is in his core. And he's allowed to be as unhinged, as evil, as nice, as degrading as he wants to be, because it truly does boil down as the whole piece boils down to what is the thing that makes humans the way they are, and the whole conversation with Nazi Germany rising in Germany during the conversation, Cliff and Sally, their discourse. In the middle of it all, you have the master of ceremonies who's leading the audience into their own downfall because, and in light of the world that we live in right now, the MC truly does represent the artist who is questioned, like, am I even allowed to do what I do in a world that's talking about war and famine and death, and I'm over here dancing and singing. So in many ways it was exhausting, but in so many ways it was liberating.
I think you would have smashed that out. I think it just sounds like from what we've spoken about, it sounds like a kind of perfect fusion of so many of your different passions and parts of you. I think it would be very interesting to watch. You've also recently taken part in West Side Story, Les Mis. What is the next theatre role that you're kind of excited about, or is there one that you maybe would like to play but haven't had the chance to yet?
Well, Croatia, I think right now is reaching a stagnant point with musicals. I was talking to one of my colleagues with whom I've done all three of my musicals, which is amazing. And he told me that the revival of the musical wave was actually an unheard one in 2024, 2025, and now 2026. It was almost like 3 years, or should I say 2.5 years of truly like a musical landscape coming back to Croatia. But I think right now that's gonna slow down a bit because as much as there is an audience here, we're always in this position where it's not an industry that's so developed. So it's not like London where you can just have theaters doing musicals all the time. There is an audience here, but the theater doesn't want to do the risk of putting themselves forward to that, or potentially to overcharging or overpaying themselves and then having to deal with the damages, so to speak. So I think for now musicals are just going to slow down in Croatia. Um, I would love at one point giving myself a shot in London with the industry there because it's something that I've been dreaming about for the last few years. And the one role that so all of the roles that I've done here in Croatia, I would love to be able to do them in London on a production scale that London gives. But the one role in my life that I will always be chasing is the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera. I mean, it's cliche as it can get, but I think the role is both from a drama side and from a vocal, musical side, is incredibly rewarding and incredibly difficult. And I think it's almost like one of those, like Jean Valjean, the Phantom, the key roles in an actor's career where he can truly say, okay, I've made it. Like I am capable of doing everything above and beyond of what I thought I could do. So Phantom of the Opera will forever be a role that I will be chasing, and pray to God that one day I will actually have the ability to do it.
Yeah, it's such a timeless piece, and I think anytime you see Phantom, I would never turn down the chance to see it because it is just so compelling after all these years. And Michael Crawford here is still just so widely associated with that role, and it's a kind of career-changing role.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the last question I've got, I know I want you to go and enjoy the rest of your day, but I would love to know, would you dip your toe back into the waters for Dora 2027? It seems a long way off, but would you be considering?
It's actually not. I mean, the national selection starts with I think the whole period starts somewhere around October, I think, maybe November. So it's just around the corner in many ways. I don't know. The most honest answer right now is I don't know because um I don't want to pressure myself to do something just because people enjoyed it the last time. I really want to. I always think, the song is the most important thing. And I wasn't going to join Dora 2026 unless I had the song. And the song truly happened overnight, but where it was literally a scenario where I was like, shit, I have a good song. I have to send it because if I don't, I'm going to regret it. Um, so if the song comes, then we'll see what, when, why, and where. But I'll say both yes and no. I'll say hopefully, but at the same time, not likely. Or maybe just because I would love to give myself a period of creating to really see what more I can bring. Because as much as we do grow in a year, I'm really interested to see what I'm going to be in 2 years' time. So maybe Dora 2028 is going to be the year where I truly feel like I can bring all the guns out and truly show Croatia and Europe that there is a lot to be seen, a lot to be heard. So I don't know. That's my most honest answer because I don't want to pressure myself about it.
Yeah. Well, watch this space. I think it's a great platform to promote an album, and it might work
Yeah.
out time wise. But no, Devin, it's been so lovely talking to you, and I could have chatted to you for hours. It's just I think you're kind of progressing at such a fantastic rate and over me, and I could never. And the theatre work, it all sounds really exciting and promising, and yeah, can't wait for the album as well. So thank you so much for spending some time chatting.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was truly lovely. I love to, touch back to all the things that happened. I'm super excited to announce what's coming, and I just want to thank you for your time. I mean, it's incredibly rare to be able to have a conversation like this and to just feel like you're not alone in this. Music is so like art is so wide, but the most beautiful moments are when you get to connect with people on one to one. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, we'll definitely reach out when the album comes out. We can chat about that.
Perfect. I would love that.
Amazing. Well, enjoy the rest of your day and chat soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.